Welcome to this deep dive. It's a space where we explore ideas that can maybe reshape how we see ourselves and the year ahead. Imagine time, maybe not as this relentless march forward, but more like a river.
A flowing river.
Always flowing, always giving us a chance, to chart a new course.
That's a beautiful image. And right now, this moment, listening, it's like standing at the edge of that river.
Exactly. With these 12 months stretching out, just full of potential for real change.
Indeed. This flow, it's unceasing, isn't it? Like the river. Every single moment carries that possibility, a fresh start, a new way of seeing things. And within this current, we actually have the capacity to navigate it with, let's say, greater awareness. We can choose our direction.
And that makes me think about a core insight here. Often what holds us back isn't really a lack of opportunity,
No.
but it's more like a kind of inner blindness, not quite seeing the potential inside us maybe, clinging to old ways of being.
That's very true. It's like we think the river can only take us where it's always gone.
Yeah, forgetting we can actually steer.
This inner blindness, it's a form of clinging, isn't it? Holding on to those familiar shores, even when the current is inviting us somewhere new. Real growth. It comes from recognizing our inherent capacity, our ability to learn, to adapt, to become.
It makes me think about the story of Siddhartha. In just 1 year, he went from this life of comfort to one of intense seeking,
Yes.
and ultimately found this profound awakening. That year, it wasn't just about external stuff, was it?
Not at all. It was a deep dive inward, a shedding of old illusions, old ways of seeing.
So what if we approach this next year with that same kind of focused intention?
Well, Siddhartha's journey then, it was really a concentrated effort, trying to understand the nature of his own mind, to see beyond the surface.
Right.
It wasn't really about what he gave up on the outside, but what he realized inside.
Ah.
Liberation, he found, isn't about external circumstances changing. It's about transcending our internal limits.
Which brings it back to us, to the listener. What could this next year hold? I mean, if that kind of shift was possible for one person in 12 months, what might be possible for you listening right now? What limiting beliefs could you shed? What new paths might open up if you really let yourself dream bigger?
Every day offers a new current, a fresh chance to create something.
So how do we become more conscious navigators? How do we steer this year?
Well, I think the key to navigating this journey within the river of time, it starts with understanding something really fundamental about the river itself.
Yeah.
About all of life, actually.
Okay, what's that?
It's impermanence.
Impermanence, right.
No.
The idea that everything is constantly changing.
Everything.
Seasons shift, our bodies change, relationships evolve. But we often resist that, don't we? We kind of cling to the idea that things should stay the same.
We do. We tell ourselves stories.
Yeah, like this is just how I am, or things will never get better.
Exactly. And these beliefs, they can feel like anchors, holding us fast when the river is actually trying to carry us forward. And this clinging to permanence, it's the source of so much of our unease,
How so?
Well, we build these mental fortresses of how things should be, and when reality, inevitably, flows in a different direction,
Right.
we experience friction, discomfort. It's like trying to hold on to sand. The tighter you squeeze.
The more it slips through your fingers, yeah.
Exactly.
But what if we could, reframe that? Impermanence. Instead of seeing it as a threat, this constant change, what if we saw it as hope?
Hope. That's an interesting way to put it.
Well, yeah. Every ending then holds the potential for a new beginning, right? Every challenge isn't a wall, it's just a bend in the river. Maybe there's something beautiful just around it.
Precisely. When we really get that nothing stays the same, not even our difficulties, our pain, it opens us up. It opens a sense of possibility. The rigidity, those expectations we have, they soften. And that allows us to be more adaptable, more resilient as life's currents shift and change.
It reminds me of planting a seed. You don't expect a full tree the next day, do you?
No, of course not.
There's this understanding that growth is gradual. It needs consistent care, attention, little things. And maybe it's the same with our own transformation this year. It's probably not one big dramatic event.
Unlikely.
It's more the cumulative effect of small, consistent actions. Choosing patience over anger just once, a conscious act of self-care, setting an intention for the day instead of just drifting.
Those small, consistent choices, that is the essence of transformation. Each act of awareness, each intentional step, It's like a drop of water that eventually fills the river.
Ah,
It's that unwavering commitment to these seemingly small actions that builds the momentum. That's what creates lasting change.
So how do we actively engage with this throughout the year? What are some maybe guiding principles to help us navigate?
I think there are 3 key aspects we can cultivate. Think of them as essential skills for navigating the river.
Okay, what are they?
Awareness, intention, and compassion.
Awareness, intention, compassion.
It's like seeing where you are, choosing your direction, and having kindness for yourself and others along the way.
Let's start with awareness then. What does that really mean in our daily lives in this year of transformation?
Awareness is, fundamentally, the practice of being fully present, right here, right now.
Okay.
It's about noticing our thoughts, our feelings, the sensations in our body, but without judgment, just noticing as they arise and pass.
So not getting caught up in them, just seeing them.
Exactly. It lets us see the patterns. Maybe we notice, oh, I tend to get anxious in this kind of situation.
And the power there is that it creates a kind of space, doesn't it? A gap between the trigger and how we usually react.
Yes, that space is everything.
Instead of just reacting automatically, we can observe the urge to react, acknowledge it, and then make a more conscious choice.
Precisely. It's like stepping back from the rushing current for a moment just to see its direction more clearly. This impartial observation, it lets us break free from that automatic pilot, respond with a bit more wisdom or understanding.
You mentioned a simple practice for this. Just 5 minutes a day, focusing on the breath. How can something so small make a difference over a whole year?
Ah, the breath. It's always there, isn't it? It's our constant anchor to the present moment.
Right.
So, by gently guiding our attention back to the inhale, the exhale,
Right.
we're training the mind, training it to settle down, to become less reactive to that constant stream of thoughts.
Like building a muscle.
Exactly like building a muscle. This daily practice, even if it's short, cultivates mental clarity, emotional resilience. It's like strengthening the banks of our inner river, little by little.
Okay. The second principle, intention. How does setting intentions shape our journey this year?
Intention is like setting the compass. It directs our energy, our focus.
Okay.
Every action we take, every choice we make, it has a consequence. You can think of it in terms of karma, cause and effect.
Right.
Our intentions are the seeds we plant, and they will inevitably shape the fruits we harvest over the course of this year. Positive actions create positive future experiences.
So it's not just what we do, but the why behind it, the energy, the motivation driving our actions throughout the year.
Precisely. And act on with kindness, with a genuine desire to grow, will have a completely different resonance, a different effect than one driven by fear or obligation. Consciously setting our intentions aligns us with the direction we truly want to go in our year of transformation.
You suggested a practical tip, writing down maybe 3 intentions each week, aligned with bigger goals for the year. How does writing them down help?
Making intentions explicit, writing them down, it brings them into sharper focus, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does feel more concrete.
It creates a commitment, a gentle reminder of the path we've chosen, and then throughout the week we can check in, are my actions matching my intentions? It's not about being perfect, of course. It's about cultivating that continuous awareness of our chosen direction.
Okay. And the third principle, compassion. Why is that so vital, especially during a year where we're trying to grow, which can be challenging?
Compassion is the heart. It's what nourishes the journey. It means extending kindness and understanding, not just to others.
But to ourselves too.
Yes, perhaps most importantly to ourselves. We are often our own harshest critics, aren't we?
Oh, definitely. That inner critic can be really loud, undermining.
It really can. And that self-judgment is a huge obstacle to growth. Self-compassion creates a safe space for vulnerability, for learning. When we treat ourselves with the same gentleness we'd offer a friend who's struggling.
Yeah.
We build resilience. We find the courage to step outside our comfort zones. It's like tending to the banks of that inner river with care, allowing new growth to take root.
You mentioned loving kindness meditation, metta. How does directing those feelings of warmth help us transform?
Metta practice, it softens the heart. It helps us feel interconnected.
How does it work?
Well, you extend wishes for well-being. First to yourself, then maybe loved ones, then neutral people, even those you find challenging. And gradually, it dismantles those barriers of judgment, of separation. It fosters inner peace, yes, but it also really enriches our relationships and how we experience the world.
So awareness, intention, compassion, these 3 really work together then as a foundation for navigating this year.
Absolutely. They support each other. Awareness lets us see where we're stuck. Intention sets our course forward. And compassion gives us the kindness and understanding we need for the journey, for the inevitable storms and the calm waters of the year ahead.
Now, another idea that feels really relevant for navigating a year of change is the middle way. What does that offer us?
The middle way. It's all about finding balance, avoiding extremes.
Okay.
In terms of personal transformation this year, it might mean finding that healthy equilibrium between pushing ourselves too hard and being too lax, maybe.
Or between holding tightly to our goals and being flexible when life throws curveballs.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a path of growth that's sustainable, one that doesn't lead to burnout.
So it's not about being lukewarm or giving up on what we want to achieve this year.
No, not at all.
But finding that balanced approach that allows for real, lasting change throughout the whole year.
Precisely. It's about mindful discernment, recognizing that the most effective path often isn't at one extreme or the other. It's usually in that nuanced middle ground. And finding that requires careful observation, a willingness to adjust as we go.
That makes sense. Another really profound teaching is the Four Noble Truths. How can these ancient insights act as a kind of blueprint for change this year?
Well, the Four Noble Truths address suffering and liberation at a very fundamental level, but yes, their principles offer a powerful framework for navigating change in our daily lives, definitely within this year.
Okay, so the first noble truth.
The truth of suffering, or perhaps better, dissatisfaction, dukkha. It encourages us to honestly acknowledge the areas of pain or dissatisfaction in our lives right now as we start this year.
Because we have to see it first, right? If we don't acknowledge what isn't working, what's causing us pain, it's hard to find the motivation to change it.
Exactly. Recognition is the essential first step. Then, the second noble truth points to the cause of this dissatisfaction.
Which is?
Attachment.
Yeah.
Or clinging. This could be attachment to desires, to specific outcomes we want for the year, or even to fixed ideas about who we are. Maybe we're attached to getting that promotion by June, and if it doesn't happen, we suffer.
So it's about really looking honestly at what we're holding on to tightly as we begin the year. Whether it's an outcome, an identity, how we think things should be.
Yes. Identifying those attachments helps us understand the root of potential difficulties during the year. Then, the third noble truth offers hope.
Okay.
There's an end to suffering. By letting go of these attachments, by accepting the impermanent nature of things, we can find greater peace and resilience throughout the year.
That idea of letting go, it can feel hard, like losing something important.
It can feel that way.
Yeah.
But what this truth suggests is that it's the clinging itself that often creates the discomfort. True freedom, real peace, comes from releasing that tight grip.
Okay, so it's not about getting rid of things, but releasing the suffering tied to clinging.
Exactly. It's about opening ourselves to the natural flow of the year, trusting our ability to navigate its twists and turns. And the fourth noble truth then gives us the path.
The Eightfold Path.
Yes, which offers really practical guidance, ethical conduct, mental discipline, wisdom, actionable steps we can weave into our year to move towards greater well-being.
And even focusing on just a few aspects like right speech, mindful communication, or right effort in our daily tasks, or right mindfulness, those can make a real difference throughout the year.
Absolutely. Right speech encourages kindness and honesty in our interactions this year. Right effort is about cultivating positive habits and letting go of harmful ones. And right mindfulness, as we've discussed, brings that awareness to all our experiences, letting us respond with more clarity.
There's another dynamic too, this interplay between effort and surrender. How do we balance actively working towards change this year with also accepting what's beyond our control?
That balance is so crucial, isn't it? We live in a world that often emphasizes constant doing, striving.
Yeah, hustle culture.
Right. But true transformation also requires knowing when to put in the effort and when to yield, when to allow the natural unfolding of things during the year.
You mentioned effort without attachment, using that Zen saying, chop wood, carry water. What does that mean for our goals this year?
Chop wood, carry water reminds us to just engage fully in the present task, whatever it is. Working towards a goal, learning something new, tending a relationship.
Okay.
But without being rigidly fixated on the final outcome. Put in your best effort throughout the year, yes, but release the need to control every single step.
So find satisfaction in the process of growing this year, not just hitting the target.
Exactly. It allows for more joy, less stress along the way. And then there's the other side, surrender without resignation. How do we surrender without just giving up on our intentions for the year?
Right, that sounds tricky.
Surrender here isn't about being passive or quitting. It's about recognizing and accepting the realities of the year as they unfold, including the unexpected challenges.
Like a sailor adjusting the sails.
Precisely. We adapt to the circumstances. We learn from setbacks, find new ways forward. It's acceptance that allows for a more skillful response instead of resistance, which just breeds frustration.
So acknowledge what's happening this year, even the tough stuff. Maybe not liking it, but accepting it so we can respond better and learn from it, rather than just fighting it.
Exactly. And you mentioned journaling earlier. That can be a great way to reflect on this balance throughout the year.
How so?
By regularly noting down our efforts, the outcomes, what we learn from difficulties. We cultivate a more balanced view. We see our own agency, but also acknowledge factors beyond our control.
That makes sense. You also talked about extending mindfulness beyond just sitting meditation, mindfulness in action.
Yes, mindfulness isn't just for the cushion. It's a way of living fully engaged with each moment of this year, bringing that quality of awareness to our morning routine, our work, our evenings.
You give some practical examples, like starting the day with just a few quiet breaths and mindfully savoring that first cup of coffee or tea.
Yes, those small conscious beginnings can really set a different tone for the whole day and cumulatively for the year. They help ground us. And then at work, maybe just pausing before firing off a reactive email or taking a breath before speaking in a stressful meeting.
That pause, it can be so powerful, can't it? Creating space for a thoughtful response instead of just reacting, shaping our interactions all year.
It really can. And in the evening, perhaps a practice of gratitude. And maybe an objective look back at the day.
Gratitude for focusing on the positive aspects of the journey this year.
Yes. And the objective review, what went well, what could I have approached differently? Fosters continuous learning, but without beating ourselves up.
To make this more real, you shared a couple of stories. Malala Yousafzai. What does her story illustrate?
Malala demonstrates incredible intention, doesn't she? And compassion, even facing immense adversity. Her commitment to education, her deep care for others. It's a powerful reminder of inner strength, no matter how difficult the year or circumstances.
Absolutely. And James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits.
Ah, yes. His work perfectly shows the power of gradual, consistent, mindful action.
Right, those small habits adding up over time.
Exactly. His focus on tiny improvements aligns so well with this idea of gradual progress on the path of transformation throughout the year. It makes it feel achievable.
So to make this really practical for everyone listening, you outlined a kind of roadmap for the year, broken into quarters. Months 1 to 3 are about building a foundation.
Yes, the first few months are key for establishing those core practices. Daily mindfulness, maybe meditation, maybe journaling, identifying limiting beliefs we want to work on this year, and setting clear, achievable goals that feel meaningful.
Got it. The months 4 to 6, deepening that awareness.
Exactly. This phase is about extending mindfulness into how we communicate. Consciously practicing letting go of attachments that are holding us back this year, and cultivating a regular gratitude practice.
Okay. Months 7, 10, 9, the focus shifts more to compassion.
Yes, this is a time to actively practice things that nurture compassion, both for ourselves and others, maybe through intentional acts of kindness, working on forgiveness, perhaps volunteering, or some form of service.
And the final quarter, months 10, 12, integration and celebration.
Right. This is for looking back at the journey, acknowledging and really celebrating the progress made throughout the year, reflecting on the growth, and maybe sharing our journey somehow that can deepen our own understanding and inspire others too.
That's a really helpful structure, breaking down a whole year into these manageable, meaningful phases. Now, you also touched on something deeper philosophically, the concept of emptiness, shunyata, not as nothingness, but as infinite potential. How does understanding that help us this year?
Shunyata, or emptiness, it points to the lack of inherent fixed existence in anything. Nothing exists entirely on its own. Everything arises in relation to everything else.
Okay, so things aren't solid and fixed.
Exactly. Understanding this dissolves those rigid boundaries we perceive. It opens us to the fluid, interconnected nature of reality. It means the limitations we see in ourselves or our situations are not set in stone. Transformation is always possible.
So because things aren't inherently stuck one way, they have the potential to change, to become something new throughout this year.
Precisely. That absence of a fixed, unchanging core means everything is adaptable, capable of transformation. This understanding can free us from the chains of rigid identities and perceived limits as we move through the year.
Which connects to the idea that our sense of self, that fixed I, is also kind of a construct, built from labels, experiences, external validation.
Very much so. Our sense of I is largely a collection of roles, beliefs, memories, stories we tell ourselves. When we identify too rigidly with these, I am a manager, I am anxious, I am successful, we become vulnerable when those things shift, as they inevitably do. Recognizing the fluid nature of self allows us to navigate change with much greater resilience this year.
You used the example of someone believing, I'm bad at public speaking. How does understanding this illusion of a fixed self help reframe that kind of limitation during our year of transformation?
Well, by recognizing that bad at public speaking is just a label, a story we've adopted, rather than some inherent unchangeable truth about us.
Right.
It opens up possibility. It becomes a skill that can be developed, not a fixed identity we're stuck with. This shift in perspective is absolutely fundamental to breaking free from self-limiting beliefs this year.
Which leads right into the power of our perception. How we see things shapes our reality. You mentioned cultivating right view.
Yes, right view. It's about seeing reality with clarity and understanding, as much as possible, free from the distortions of our biases, our fears, our preconceived ideas. Cultivating this perspective allows us to approach whatever happens this year with more wisdom and compassion.
And one way to cultivate that is by reframing challenges, seeing them not just as problems, but as teachers, opportunities for growth throughout the year.
Absolutely. Every difficulty we encounter holds a potential lesson. If we shift our perspective, we can transform obstacles into stepping stones on our path this year.
And also practicing radical acceptance, accepting what is without fighting it, which creates space for solutions to emerge during the year. Maybe asking, okay, what can I learn from this?
Acceptance isn't passive resignation, remember. It's an active engagement with reality as it presents itself. This allows us to respond much more effectively to the challenges and the opportunities of the year.
And you also mentioned cultivating positive mental imagery, using visualization to help us move towards our goals for the year.
Our minds are incredibly powerful. By vividly imagining ourselves succeeding, embodying the qualities we want to develop, we create a strong internal compass guiding us through the year.
It feels like our personal transformation doesn't just stay within us, though. You talked about a ripple effect.
Oh, definitely. We are all interconnected. Our inner shifts, our inner transformation inevitably ripple outward. It affects our relationships, our families, our communities, the world around us throughout this year.
And we can amplify that positive effect, maybe by leading by example, sharing our own journey, contributing somehow.
Yes, by embodying the changes we seek. By sharing our experiences authentically, we can inspire others. And acts of service, contributing to the community, they further strengthen this positive cycle.
Yeah.
Think of Thich Nhat Hanh, an engaged Buddhism personal awakening, leading directly to societal change.
Finally, you brought up this idea of moving from doing to being, embracing suchness, just being present without judgment as we move through the year.
Yes. In our very goal-oriented world, we often forget the simple joy of just being present in this moment. Suchness, or tathata, it invites us to release that constant need to achieve, to fix, to become something else, and just experience the unfolding of the year with open, accepting awareness.
So it's a reminder to find moments of stillness, just to appreciate the present, whatever it holds, throughout our year of transformation, not always striving.
Exactly, to savor the journey itself.
As we wrap up then, you offered a really powerful call to action, reminding us that transformation happens right now, in the present moment.
Yes, the power to shape our year isn't somewhere in the future. It lies in the choices we make today, this moment. And the tools we need, awareness, intention, compassion, they're already within us.
And you gave that simple plan: daily practice, monthly goals, and celebrating the small wins.
Transformation is a journey of small, consistent steps. It truly is. By committing to those daily practices, setting manageable monthly goals, and importantly, acknowledging our progress along the way, we build momentum. We sustain our motivation throughout the whole year.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I'm left with that image you painted earlier. This year as a blank canvas.
And each of us, each listener, as the artist of their own life. It feels like an invitation, really, to paint boldly this year, with curiosity, with courage, and with deep kindness towards ourselves.
Indeed. And perhaps to trust. To trust that the person you are meant to become, the potential within you, is already there, waiting to emerge as you navigate this transformative year ahead.
Thank you. That's a beautiful thought to end on.